My dear brothers, sisters, friends, fellow citizens, my colleagues in legal profession and social activists, as we gear up to celebrate yet another Republic Day on 26th January 2025, commemorating the grand day of the Indian Constitution coming into force on January 26, 1950. At the outset, I would like to extend my hearty greetings and best wishes to all of you. Now, I would like to share my thoughts on the subject that are we celebrating the Republic Day in its true real sense and spirit, or it is simply reduced into a mere routine ritual. Whether India is really a republic, democratic republic. On this subject, I would like to share my views. Baba Saheb Ambedkar said at the time of adoption of the Constitution by the Constituent Assembly, he said, on the 26th January 1950, we are going to enter into a life of contradictions. In politics, we will have equality, and in social and economic life, we will have inequality. In politics, we will be recognizing the principle of one man, one vote, and one vote, one value. In our social and economic life, by reason of our social and economic structure of the society, we shall continue to deny the principle of one man, one value. How long shall we continue to live this life of contradictions? How long shall we continue to deny equality in social and economic life? If we continue to deny for long, we will do so only by putting our political democracy in peril. We must remove these contradictions at the earliest possible moment. That was the message and warning given by Baba Saheb Ambedkar. My friends, why the Republic Day should be celebrated? The Indian Republic Day is celebrated with gusto and enthusiasm, not only with the official state functions, parades, and the display of the multiple pluralistic cultural displaying of our culture and unity in diversity in all institutions by organizing nationwide events and by the people as well, as it stands as a source of pride for Indians worldwide, symbolizing the end of colonial era and success of struggle for freedom and independence and establishment of a democratic republic with people of India as ultimate sovereigns and India becoming a self-governing nation. It also reminds people of the efforts and sacrifices made by the Constitution makers, and more particularly the immense sacrifice of the father of Indian Constitution, Baba Saheb Dr. Y.Jayaraju Ambedkar, who gave a best and world largest written constitution to the Indian nation. It serves as a reminder to all of us that without law and order, the basic principles enshrined in the preamble of the Constitution, that is liberty, equality, and fraternity, which guides the nation forward in the path of peace and democracy and progress. And a country cannot survive, perform, or achieve anything and commits us to cause of the justice, liberty, equality, and fraternity in all walks of life. It underscores the democratic values, empowering citizens to have supremacy in the decision making and making India a vibrant, sovereign, socialist, secular, and democratic republic. It further reminds the citizens of their duty to introspect, assess, and analyze the functioning of democracy through their elected governments, constitutional bodies, and statutory institutions in implementing the core values and objectives of the Constitution and take corrective steps by their power to vote or dethrone the government or make them to learn and amend their policies and functioning which are contra to their constitutional mandate. And now let us see whether India is truly a republic and Indian constitution is being implemented and its people are real sovereigns in real sense. Does real power rest with the citizens of India? We have completed 75 years of Indian Republic and implementation of the Constitution of India, which was enacted by the people, adopted by the people, and presented by the people for to themselves. The Constitution in its preamble opens with the words, "We, the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign, democratic, secular republic, do hereby adopt, enact, and give ourselves this constitution." That means the people of India are final decision makers, and the constitution is the law of the land. And no leader, however great he may be, he cannot violate the will of the people and the constitutional mandate. The preamble is the basic structure of the constitution, and it cannot be altered or amended or diluted by the government or party in power. And this was upheld by the Supreme Court of India in Keshavananda Bharati versus State of Kerala 1973 case, in which the court declared that the true position is that every provision in the constitution can be amended, provided in the result the basic structure and constitution of the constitution remains the same. The basic structure may be said to consist the following features. Number one, the supremacy of the constitution. Number two, republic, democratic form of government. Number three, secular character of the constitution. Number four, separation of powers between the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary with checks and balances. Number five, federal character of the constitution. And the same was reiterated by the apex court in Indira Nehru Gandhi versus Rajanaran case in 1975 by holding that if there is any part of the constitution which deserves greater devotion from any other part of it, it is certainly the preamble of the constitution. That is why Baba Sahib Ambedkar described the preamble as a way of life which recognizes the liberty, equality, and fraternity as principles of life. In State of Bihar versus Bala Mukund Shah 2000, the apex court reinforced the principle of separation of powers and emphasized that the principle of independent judiciary, more notably, it was upheld by the part of the basic structure, that is the democratic form of life as different from a mere adult franchise. Then guarantees of fundamental rights, and three, the secular nature of the state such that there is no state religion. With this clarity, let us examine whether we are truly a republic. Does real power rest with the citizens or people of India? It is obvious that we are a democratic nation, as a citizenry in this country exercise their franchise or vote and choose the party to form the government and administer the affairs on their behalf. Does the will of the people is really reflecting in the practice and functioning of the governments, and their functioning, whether it is in obedience of the constitution? The answer is an emphatic no, putting the very idea of republic at risk. On paper, we have free and fair elections that allow us to democratically choose our representatives, but in reality, there is no guarantee that they will genuinely represent the interest on assuming power and office, and as the money and muscle power, manipulation of voting process, more particularly of EVMs, on which there are complaints galore in successive elections, and also for the last more than 11 years, and a very pliable and partisan election commission of India, which is abdicated its autonomy and the statutory responsibility, are increasingly determining the electoral outcomes, undermining the very foundation and fabric of the republic and the democracy envisioned by the Constitution. Our freedom fighters fought for freedom and independence together, and it was a movement by all men and women of all castes, creed, religion, region, or language, and join together in the freedom struggle. But today, what we witness is that our country is being divided on these lines deliberately to establish a majoritarian communal hegemonic rule by the by giving up, go by to the very preamble of the Constitution, by reducing the Constitution to be merely on a paper and diluting all the constitutional and statutory institutions by gross abuse of power, got from the people, got from the people's mandate and under the Constitution. That apart, the fundamental right of freedom of expression, freedom of religion, right to dissent are being systematically and the systematically being suppressed, and people, intellectuals and the political activists, political and opposition parties and their leaders are being increasingly targeted by misusing the power and the statutory agencies such as ED, IT, NIA, CBI and other organs of the state, which lead us to question the republic nature of India. Wherever the ruling establishment whenever the ruling establishment feels threatened by the citizens demanding rights, demanding responsibility from the government and express dissent and oppose the undemocratic actions and legislations brought by the government, they will not hesitate to put them down with lethal force by branding them as anti-nationals and urban naxals and also jihadis, as evidenced by the series of incidents that have taken place and that have been taking place in different parts of the country, and various enactments passed by the government bulldozing the opposition parties in parliament. We saw a bizarre incident, the spectacle of suspending 142 parliament members from the parliament in one day. In the winter session in the last year and the like. The passing of CAA 2019, suppression of protests against CAA and NRC, amendments to RTA Act, DNA profile bill, and the Chief Justice of India, and excluding the Chief Justice of India as one of the members of appointing committee of the Election Commission of India, and amendment to the election rules, and fixing the election schedule as per the convenience of the ruling party, and also one man, one nation, and one election. Like this, there are several other despotic measures that are being brought into the existence by the government in order to concentrate power, and more particularly the non-BJP, more particularly the BJP ruled state, they are bringing the legislations like anti-conversion laws and bulldozer justice, as we are evidencing in Uttar Pradesh and Madhya Pradesh and other BJP ruled states, under the guise of violation of the law, and without following the rule of law, in spite of Supreme Court rulings and amendments, and the amendments, various amendments made to the criminal laws on the pretext of shedding colonial laws, while retaining the draconian provisions and anti-constitutional provisions in the like sedition in different forms, giving more power to the police, and communalization of academic institutions by new education policy, and amendment to the UGC regulations and the curriculum, so on and so forth. The blatant partisan and communal attitude of Modi government was was displayed in extolling the released Bilkis Banu's convicts in case of women wrestlers by openly siding their party leaders and perpetrating the Manipur crisis through its own chief minister and official missionary, but not even caring to restore peace by PM himself visiting Manipur, in spite of the demands for the last more than 1.5 years, for the reasons best known to them, resulting the massacre of murder and tribals and women, destruction of properties in spite of national outrage. Instead, its leaders went to the extent of abrogating the constitution and constitution by making amendments to the constitution. And in fact, during the last elections, they openly declared that if they get 400 seat mark, they will definitely change the constitution. Though the people of this country gave a warning by putting check on their communal divisive agenda by drastically reducing their dominance by brute majority in Lok Sabha by giving only 240 seats, thanks to the ineffective and incoherent opposition. Incoherent opposition parties, that is India Alliance, make it very comfortably to these people to rope in the regional parties for their sustenance in power. Unfortunately, the regional parties who are supporting the government, such as TDP, JDU, once a secular parties, and strongly opposed the communal politics of the Modi and BJP, but due to fear of suppression and abuse of power, and by using the central agencies and for their existence, they have become mute spectators and supporters of the Modi government. Emboldened by this, the ruling party now embarked upon vigorous implementation of their hidden agenda of taking this democratic republic into and turning this democratic republic into an autocratic communal presidential form of state or government while pretending loyalty to the constitution. Apart from this, the government, though acting against the spirit of federalism, trampling upon the powers of the state governments and discriminating non-BJP ruled state, and with the introducing one nation, one election theory and amendments to the UGC regulations to take away the state powers in appointment of the vice chancellors and fiscal power concentration, then abolishing of a National Development Council, and also not convening the interstate council, that is also disbanded by the government. So now that they are acting against the federal spirit of the constitution, which mandates that the states and the center has to work within their ambit of power given by the Constitution of India. But with this, some of the measures, they are trampling on the powers of the state government and controlling all this Niti Ayog and also Finance Commission and Planning Commission, all the financial institutions, all this have become an extended departments of the central government, and therefore the states are begging with folded hands for resources from the central government, thus making states subservient to the central government. This is the tendency now we are witnessing in the country, and opposition ruled states. And not only that, they are threatening the opposition rules, and they are trying to weaken the opposition government by encouraging defections or by using the UDIT and other investigating agencies, harassing them and making them with what we call is a washing machine. This is no, it's a very well-known the word that washing machine politics. So they are adopting this washing machine politics, weakening the federal spirit. And another pillar of democracy, that is media. We are witnessing for the last 10 years. And once Indian media was very independent and without any partisan attitude. But for the last 10 years, by misusing the central agencies like ED, IT and other CBI and other agencies, whoever speaks against the government or reports the news against the government, they were hounded and they were threatened and they were falsely implicated in the cases, and making them to surrender by surrender to the central government. For a classic example is the NDTV. NDTV once a very independent news agency, but now it is owned by Adani. Adani is nothing but a friend of Modi. And not only that, the 80% of media barons, now they are corporate class, which were all aligned with the Modi government. So there is nothing is left in the independent media. As we witness, even electronic media, we see only the communal communal and hegemonic news. They are taking a dominant portion in their news relay of news, and so also the print media. Whatever is happening in Manipur is not being highlighted, and whenever they do, and nobody is speaking about the financial position, the unemployment. As we witness that there is weakening of all institutions, statutory bodies like election, not only election commission and other statutory bodies also. So judicial commissions or national human rights commission, and all these things have become an extended department of the central government under the present ruling establishment. And then coming the last but most important, the Indian judiciary. Constitution envisions that there is an independent judiciary which is the custodian of the Constitution, which is the guardian of the Constitution, and checks the autocratic tendencies of the government that is in power, and and the Supreme Court, more especially the constitutional courts, have got power to declare any action or enactment passed by the legislature as anti-constitutional. And we must say that the preamble of the Constitution is the basic structure of the Constitution. It cannot be amended and it cannot be altered by any government. But what is the preamble says? What the preamble says, that it's a social, secular, socialist, democratic, sovereign republic to secure the rights to all the people and freedom of expression, fundamental rights. But when the judiciary is supposed to stand by the Constitution, but of late we have seen what I would like to remind you that the former law minister Arun Jaitley, who is a BJP leader, he publicly declared there are the judges who know the law, and there are judges who knows the law minister, and all the prior retirement judgments are influenced by the post-retirement benefits. That's what he stated. That is being implemented in the present ruling establishment. We have seen how the higher courts, the constitutional courts, are leaning towards the government and falling in line with the government thinking and supporting them and making them to succeed in certain cases. For example, the Ayodhya judgment, 5 judges we have given judgment, and the Gogoi got appointment immediately after post-retirement benefit. He got Rajya Sabha, and then another judge was appointed the National Law Appellates Tribunal. And I would like to show you how the things have taken place, and the higher judiciary also is increasingly being communalized. Another judge of this one Ayodhya judgment, and 3 judges out of 5, they got post-retirement benefits. And the man who diluted SC/ST POA Act, the Arun Mishra, was appointed, immediately after retirement, he got post-retirement benefit by way of appointment. And then we have seen in recent examples in Calcutta, a high court judge who gave judgment in favor of the central government and resigned the post. Immediately he was given as a candidate for BJP candidate for parliament. And then another man, openly now who is in office, Mr. Yadav, Allahabad High Court judge, he openly criticizes the Muslim minorities, and even the Supreme Court has taken cognizance of it. So there are people even being on the bench and their responsibility of being a custodian of the Constitution, they are speaking in communal tone, in line with the present establishment. This now the independent judiciary is also unfortunately on the wane, and they are being towing the line of the government, and this is a very unfortunate thing that we never expected. We never expected Indian judiciary, and in fact, what the Constitution of India envisions, the judiciary, particularly higher judiciary such as Supreme Court and High Court, plays a crucial role as a custodian of the Constitution and as a counterbalance to autocratic tendencies. But the recent years under the government, what we are witnessing, I have said, there is a total dilution of the higher judiciary, and people are increasingly losing confidence in the judiciary as well. This is the present tendency. Then what inference can we draw? from this turn of events. Can we say that India is really a democratic republic? Can we say that the Constitution in India is not effective and strong to curb these tendencies? And where the fault lies? Then the answer comes from the warning of Baba Saheb Ambedkar. He said, however good Constitution may be, it is sure to turn out to be bad, because those who are called to implement or to work it happen to be a bad lot. However bad the Constitution may be, it may turn out to be good if those who are called to work it happen to be a good lot. The Constitution can provide only the organs of the state, such as legislature, the executive, and the judiciary. The factors on which the working of the organs of the state depends on the people and the political parties they will set up as the instruments to carry out the wishes and their politics. So, Baba Saheb Ambedkar envisioned this problem, and that is why he has got foresight and vision and warned long back that we cannot find fault with the Constitution, as it is the people of India who got drafted the Constitution, presented to themselves, and it is ultimately the people's responsibility to be vigilant and watch such distortive and destructive acts of the people at the helm of affairs, and teach them a lesson at appropriate time, that is during elections. He said that Constitution of India is strong enough to hold the country together in peace and war times. And if things goes wrong, it is not that we had a bad Constitution that will have to say that the people who implement it are vile. If hereafter things goes wrong, we the people of India will have nobody to blame except ourselves. So my dear friends, this is the day, not a mere a ritual, mere a formal occasion to celebrate Republic Day. We must introspect, we must analyze whether during the 75 years of implementation of the Constitution, the very object of the Constitution as enshrined in the preamble is being implemented, is being followed, or is it drifting and his Constitution is under threat. And if these things we have to, while analyzing, while celebrating, we have to discuss all these things and take an effective decision. Being people, it is our responsibility. Ultimately, people are sovereigns in the democratic republic. And therefore, once again, I remind you and request you also to go through the preamble and take pledge by reading over the preamble on the day of Republic, when we celebrate the Republic Day. What preamble said? We, the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic, and to secure all its citizens justice, social, economic, and political, liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith and worship, equality of status and opportunity, and to promote among them all the fraternity, assuring the dignity of individual and the unity and integrity of the nation. So we do hereby adopt, enact, and give to ourselves this Constitution. Therefore, my dear friends, it is our bounden duty to protect the Constitution, to check the autocratic tendencies, and to see that other than the constitutional mandate is not being implemented by the parties who elected to power, by the parties who elected, and misusing the power given by the Constitution. And therefore, it is the right occasion to reflect and retrospect and come to a decision to protect this Constitution. So I hope that people will realize the responsibilities, and by overcoming from the influence from communal influence, because now the religion is being used as a weapon to communalize the society, to divide the society. And we, as the citizens of India, must be aware that once we lose the Constitution, and we will lose the independence. And therefore, once again, I appeal to all of you to stand by the Constitution, to protect the Constitution, and to teach the lesson to such forces, divisive forces, that they cannot defeat the Constitution. Thank you. Jai Bhim, Jai Bharat.